You did an interview yesterday in which you talked about how October the 7th had been overhyped. Your word.
Yeah.
Overhyped. What did you mean by that?
40 beheaded babies is a bit of an exaggeration.
No, that's a massive lie. There weren't 40 beheaded. No. When I talk about October the 7th, when Israel talks about October the 7th, when any official, when any journalist who knows anything about it talks about October the 7th, they never mention there being 40 beheaded babies because it was a confusion from one journalist on one day that went around the world, which has been totally debunked. So
it wasn't just one journalist.
It was one journalist who said it. It was one journalist who said it, and she had misunderstood what she had been told by an IDF soldier.
And they were all the first responders from the Zaka charity who invented stories about what they saw.
Did they?
I've read, I'm going to pronounce this all wrong, Yedioth Ahronoth, the Israeli newspaper, Haaretz, and the Israeli Times, who have all reported on October the 7th because they stopped and said there's too much contradiction coming here. And so they looked at the narrative, and it was over-exaggerated.
It was what was exaggerated? Wait a second, I want to clarify. Were 1,200 people killed that day?
Yes, there were.
Okay, no. Were women murdered and raped and mutilated before they were murdered on that day?
I don't know if they were raped.
You don't know if they were raped?
No, I don't.
You don't know, even though Hamas fighters themselves have actually filmed the rapes. They've been found on their own body cams and put on social media.
I have.
But you don't know.
Body cams, but I do remember a family saying our daughter has not been raped. She was murdered, and they were very, very upset.
Oh, so one family's daughter wasn't raped. Brilliant. Were children killed deliberately on October the 7th?
There were teenage twins who were killed. There was one baby killed.
One baby.
One baby.
That's all the children. You got three. You got three. Okay. Was anyone mutilated? Was anyone mutilated? Were bodies mutilated, and were families burnt alive on October the 7th?
I did see raped and mutilated bodies, but I
thought they weren't raped. I thought no one was raped. You told me a minute ago they weren't raped.
Well, hold on. These were of Iranian Kurdish fighters, and what on earth their photographs were doing mixed in with October 7th photos.
Okay, when were 251 people taken hostage by Hamas and others from Gaza and taken into Gaza and taken as hostages?
They were.
They were, okay. And when some of those women, some alive, some dead, with mutilated, naked, blood-strewn bodies, when they were paraded through the streets, did a load of Palestinian civilians cheer and spit and beat those bodies? Did you see any of those videos? Did that happen, or was that overhyped?
Yes, that happened.
That happened. Okay, and when the hostages who've been released were released, were any of those, in their experiences in that time, were they starved, tortured, beaten, and in some cases sexually abused and raped? Did that happen?
If you say it does,
and it's not me. I wasn't there. I'm not saying it happened. The people who it happened to said it happened. Do you believe them? Do you believe those hostages, or are they lying?
I'm still looking into, but October the 7th does not give an exemption pass for Israel.
Didn't ask that. You said October the 7th was overhyped. How do you overhype a massacre involving 1,200 people, rape and mutilation and hostage taking? How do you overhype that?
I just said before, the 40...
No, that's debunked. That's long debunked. Over a year ago, and you're still going on about it. I'm not talking about the stuff that didn't happen. I'm talking about the stuff that did happen. Was it over? How is that overhyped?
About that, the President of the United States, the last one, still hasn't apologised.
And he should, because it was untrue. It was untrue. But this is why facts matter. Yvonne, we're going to have to leave it here. But I mean, just want to say, you were supposed to be on that freedom flotilla. Why didn't you go?
I was supposed to be on the Conscience, which was blown up in in Malta by Israel. Of course,
I don't know the details on that.
But
okay,
again,
but would you go on the next one?
Country.
Would you go on the next one, and would you like to would you like to go to Gaza?
Go on the next one.
Do you think you'd be welcomed there?
On the next one.
Do you think you'd be welcome there?
In Gaza, absolutely. Yes, I'd be welcome.
Oh, I'm sure they'd love you. But it does appear, you can actually see a tear rolling down by the side of her nose while the Prime Minister is speaking and failing to guarantee she will continue to remain as Chancellor. What do you make of that?
Well, I feel sorry for her. I think if you've looked at her facial expressions at Prime Minister's questions now over several months, she looks in a state of despair and as if the job is overwhelming her. And I think for anybody in the public eye to be in such a distressed state is very sad and very difficult. In a personal sense, I wish her well. I think she's a useless Chancellor, but one wouldn't want anybody to be that unhappy.
Well, I mean, although she's making a lot of other people unhappy with the planned tax rise, you could argue that maybe if she had done 10 years at the Bank of England as an economist and worked as an economist at HBOS rather than in the complaints department and only 5 years at the Bank of England, maybe she would be up to the job better.
That's a very fair point. I don't think she's a good Chancellor. I don't think she's a competent Chancellor. But I feel for somebody in the public eye who is very distressed. And I think that is a sadness and that people should be kind to her. I don't think there's any point in rubbing salt into the wound at this point.
All right.
You put your views very clearly. I was listening to you, and my goodness, that was the sort of Michael Holding bowling coming in for the Chancellor. But I might leave you to do that rather than doing it myself.
Well, OK, you are known for your courtesy in politics. Let's talk, we mentioned the Bank of England there. Let's talk about the Bank of England. They're in the news today. They've been accused of wrong-headed wokery. I think all wokery is wrong-headed. They revealed they want to think about dropping historical figures from banknotes because they want to reflect things like modern diversity. So we've had significant characters, Sir Winston Churchill, Jane Austen, James M.W. Turner, Alan Turing, of course, the codebreaker, crucial in the Second World War, or key figures in our past who had a real impact on us. And they're saying that actually we're going to have a consultation looking at suggestions from the public that would end that, and actually they might look at sort of reflecting gender diversity and ethnicity and disability and things like that. Would you support that, Sir Jacob?
Oh no, it's awful nonsense, and the Bank of England doesn't understand its own job. The point of paper currency is to create an impression of value that is basically false. So the banknote says on it, I promise to pay the bearer on demand. Yeah. That is a lie. It won't pay you anything on demand other than a new banknote. In the period that banknotes have not been based on anything, the value of £1 has fallen to about half a p, a little bit over. So their banknotes have got less and less valuable, and by making them less serious, less patriotic, less symbolic of the nation, they further undermine the value of the paper that they issue. Look at the US dollar. The US dollar is basically unchanged. It's there as a form of stability, as something of certainty. And these silly people with nothing better to do, overpaid in the Bank of England, faff around with the banknotes and undermine its value. It's really silly. They shouldn't do it. They should be fired. We should save the money on their salaries.
Well, I'm with you all the way on that. It is extraordinary, isn't it? And also that sort of people who've been really important historically, like Sir Winston Churchill, should perhaps be replaced. You know, it's always the king or the queen on one side, but it should be replaced by, I don't know, presumably, I don't know, some disabled black lesbian, I don't know, something, community activist. And it does just make a mockery of this. And again, these are passing political fads rather than a key part of our cultural and historical political identity.
I agree with you. I mean, when I was a child, they had Nelson and Wellington and Shakespeare on the banknotes, the real titans of British society. They've already watered it down a bit with less exciting people, I think, and less pride in our military history and our success as a nation. And they just want to go further. It's basically the Europeanification of it. Look at the euros, which are the most boring banknotes anybody's ever created. Dull as ditch water, because it's not really a proper currency. And I don't know if you can hear me over the siren, but I think the Bank of England's just being as wet as water.
What did you make of that verdict yesterday?
Well, I was quite amazed, Julia, that it took a jury 10 hours after viewing that footage to make any sort of decision. I mean, the way that the female officer was taken out and the bloodied nose, it just made obvious sense. And the fact that the jury had heard that a man had been assaulted beforehand, and the officers were in full uniform, this idea that they were somehow shocked who it was, or they didn't know what was going to go on.
All of those two women were women.
Yeah, two female officers. I just think it's outrageous, and I think part of it could have been influenced, of course, by senior politicians like Yvette Cooper, who intervened before they knew the full facts. You know, saying, and I suppose the Liberal left, they come from a point of view where if you show the initial footage that immediately somebody from an ethnic minority must be a victim and the police must be the villains. And that was a real issue. And we heard about Keir Starmer saying about influencing trials with Axel Rudiker-Barner. Well, best he has a word with his Home Secretary, who is supposed to support the police.
Well, again, at the time, I think everyone thought that when we saw that first clip of the police officer kicking and stamping on the head of one of the brothers. There are no charges pending on that, so we can talk about that. I think people thought the charges, if there were going to be any, would be brought against the police officer. There were protests outside a police station. There were big fears of unrest. We had the local MP Paul Wharf for Rochdale, newly elected, sitting with the family, saying they were deeply traumatised by what had happened, calling for calm. We had the lawyer who then later left the case, saying that these poor brothers had been this terrible victim of this awful crime. There were lots and lots of talk on social media. This is clearly a, white police officer, Muslim, brown-skinned man, must be racist, must be Islamophobic. And then, of course, we had the leaking of the full video and saw the full context. And now we've had the trial. I followed it very closely. We weren't allowed to talk about it on air. And I read the judge's summing up as well. The brothers, I'm going to talk about one, but one brother, the brother who's been convicted of these three assaults, and faces a likely retrial on another assault. Basically claiming sort of this man of good character. And that he'd been provoked into this assault of this man in Starbucks, and the claim that there was abuse and shouting. None of the staff who worked there heard that, but they did see the punch and they did see the headbutt. It defies belief to me that someone who's got an unblemished criminal record, never, absolutely lived whiter than white, perfect life, knows how to throw a punch repeatedly like that, has that reaction when police officers stop him, and knows how to headbutt someone.
And it's quite, what it strikes me as incredible, Julie, is that they come from Pakistan. Now, some of the viewers and listeners may remember a show called Karachi Cops.
Can I say though, I thought they were British born.
The British, I'm saying they were flying in from Pakistan, weren't they? Flew in from Pakistan. Their mother was from Pakistan.
I think the brothers were there at the airport to meet the mother who'd flown in, which was...
So the family got some Pakistani origins. You watch a show called Karachi Cops from the 90s, and you see what the Pakistani police do to a suspect who has assaulted police officer. So they come from that background. But also what the public may be shocked to hear is that two of those officers, the male officer, P.C. Marsden, and the other female officer, P.C. Cook, is that they are still possibly facing gross misconduct hearings, and they may well be sacked. I just think it's incredible. In any other airport, what gets me as well, this is an airport situation. This is where there's heightened security, people are armed. They're lucky they did. Any other airport around the world, if that had been America, they would have been shot.
Absolutely. And it's a point Philip Ingram made too, that it's important to remember they were armed officers. And again, the surprise of this man, Mohammed Fahir Ahmad, that the police turned up, minutes after you've just headbutted and punched a man in front of witnesses in an airport. You don't think there's CCTV and police officers around. It's quite bizarre, isn't it? But this is the thing. The video that we first saw prompted outrage of the police officer stamping on the head and kicking the man lying prone on the ground. We didn't know the context. Now, only seeing that bit of video, I was saying to Philip Ingram, I called police officer friends of mine. I spoke to many people who we often have on the show, police officers, to ask, look, what's your perspective on this? You've got experience, and they all, to a man and a woman, said that was unacceptable. Whatever the context, it went too far. The kick or the stab was whichever the second one was went too far. Once you saw the full video, do you think it was justified, given that there are no police actions, just as an independent Office of Police Conduct investigation? Do you think he went too far?
I do, personally, yes. I don't think kicking somebody in the head, you can kill them. I understand why he used his feet, because he had his hands on his weapon, and he could have kicked him in the body. Kicking somebody in the head. If I was a senior detective investigating that, I think the problem is you're handing victim cards to that person. From them becoming
in the heat
villain,
of the moment.
Heat of the moment, and we've all been there. I've been there with the red mist. If you're involved in violence like that, where people suddenly attack you, two of the colleagues have been taken out, and you're suddenly on your own, the red mist descends, and you're sort of fighting for your life. So it is very hard to criticise when that has happened.
Now,
where do we start?
Where do we start? Okay, look, you came to fame on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
You were making millions on OnlyFans, still making huge sums of money. You've done some. Well, I suppose you made your name out of turning sex into an extreme sport. 1,000 men in 12 hours ended up being more than 1,000 men.
Yeah,
they have sex with you for free. They're complete strangers, but you make money by filming it and putting it online. And then people subscribe and they get to see it. And the Channel 4 documentary last week caused something of an outcry when the advertisers said we don't want to be associated with her. Do you understand why advertisers don't want to be associated with you and why people are angry at you for what you do?
I mean, one of them was an alcohol company, so I don't really understand what their issue could be, because I know Smirnoff Ice was something I used to drink as a kid on the park, and most people do. So they're sort of hypocrites, because they're saying, oh no, it's a bad influence for young people. Okay, well, alcohol is bad, whereas at least sex is pleasurable and it's not damaging.
Alcohol's pleasurable.
Yeah, it is, but it also can be very damaging. It can lead to a lot of people having issues. It depends how you look at it. The sex I'm having is very pleasurable.
Okay, and I suppose that's the thing where people get into. I mean, again, I don't want to go into too many details at this time of day, but apparently I've been told we can use the phrase gangbang. It surprises me. That's allowed.
That's PG.
We're all surprised by that. But you having sex with a number of men at the same time.
Yeah.
Lots of them wearing balaclavas. Yeah. Who've queued up and they've had their STD test. They've guaranteed that that they are over 18, so it's all legal. But you having sex with a whole bunch of completely strange men, some masked at the same time, telling them they can, do what they want to you. You've used phrases like "destroy me," "do what you want to me," "I want you to rearrange my inside."
See, they're all words that really excite me. Like, I really, really enjoy that. So for me, that's like the best day ever, telling so many guys that I've got blue ski masks, say like, hey boys, come and destroy me, come and rearrange my insides. And for some people, they find that disgusting, they're mortified by it. But me, I honestly love it.
You're not saying it just because you know that's what will get you clickbait and that a lot of men may be titillated by that. You're saying that does it for you as well.
Yeah, I understand that. Everyone wants me to be traumatised. Everyone wants to see me crying, breaking down. And that's what the people thought they was going to see in the documentary. But that's not me. If I was trying to put on a show and everything else, then I'd probably try and look more emotional. But that isn't me. I really enjoy this.
Because lots of people were saying, look, and again, the stats are very clear. Women working either in pornography or working as prostitutes. Yeah. The rates of women who have been sexually abused is sky high. Yeah. Who've been abused as children, been in domestic abuse or other sexually abusive relationships. The rate of suicide attempts and suicide among people who've worked in your industry is sky high as well. So the assumption was you've come from an unhappy home, you've been abused, but your family are in the
they're more than supportive,
documentary.
and time and time again
And your ex-husband, partner of 10 years.
Yeah, and everyone the whole time I've spoke about my ex-husband always being super supportive, and everyone thinks I'm lying. I say I've got a family who support me, they think I'm lying, and then every time I just say and I show the evidence of, hey, here's my family and here's my partner, but it's still ignored.
So you kind of break the expectations of a lot of people, which seems to make people more
angry. Yeah.
So people were saying to me online when we put out we were going to interview you, well, why are you publicising this? You know, they're using, you know, a lot of the normal, you know, prostitute, whore, sluts, like they're using an awful lot of words to describe you that often are talked about any woman who enjoys sex.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing, right? I don't. You're probably too young to remember. You're in your early 20s. You're probably too young to remember Mary Whitehouse. But in my day, when I was a bit younger than you, it was a really big thing at the time where there was a woman, very you know, she looked like she was out of a different age, basically saying we shouldn't have any sex or anything on television, and even the sight of a nipple was shocking at that time. That's how much things have changed. And I think you're probably going to be thinking, God, I'm sitting here with this today's version of Mary Whitehouse. I was raised in a very liberal family, very liberal attitudes towards things like sex and things, and talking about it, being open and the like. My main feeling when I watched the documentary was sadness.
Okay.
And even though you're this beautiful young woman, you say you're feeling very empowered.
Yeah.
You say that, you know, and you're earning millions. You probably don't have to do another day's work in your life if you don't want to. You say you're enjoying what you do. Your family are there surrounding you. But my main feeling was sadness. And the reason I felt sad was that I felt, and again, I'd love to hear your answer to this. I think you're kidding yourself. Why? And is that an attitude you often get from people, especially women?
Everyone thinks I'm lying. Everyone thinks when I say I'm enjoying it, it's clickbait. I'm saying it just because it's my job to say I enjoy it. But
well, she would say that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, of course. And I understand that. And I think, you know what, put me on a lie detector test, because I honestly enjoy it. I get so much pleasure from it. And I can understand for most people, they'd be repulsed by it. But
particularly most women.
Yeah, 100%. But for me, I really do have fun, and I'm really grateful to do what I do.
As a result of the Cass review last year into treatment of children within the NHS who believe that they are transgender, plan now for the NHS to test all children who believe they are transgender for autism, also to talk to them about their sexuality, about whether they may in fact be gay or bisexual, rather than, as they believe, that they are born in the wrong body, but crucially to see whether they're on the autistic spectrum, given that the Cass review and many other research has shown that actually a huge number of children who believe that they are trans are actually on the autistic spectrum. What do you make of that?
I think the holistic approach is definitely the way to go. And indeed, that has been the practice of many people working in this field already. But yes, if there are other issues that may affect people who seek treatment for trans, then all the other potential issues in their lives should be thoroughly investigated. My only concern is that this may further delay treatment, if treatment is indeed designated and approved.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, given that the treatment, as you say, is basically puberty blockers, although that would be illegal under the NHS right now, but we know that there are going to be studies and reviews which would allow this to happen basically by the back door, that actually this is a one-way route for an awful lot of young people into having their bodies and their lives changed forever. Incredibly damaging. No evidence that actually this improves their lives, improves their happiness levels. It should be delayed. And one of the issues at the Tavistock Centre, which was the main place this was happening before the Cass review, was that actually kids were, one appointment, second appointment, there you go, start on the puberty blockers, off you go. I mean, major mental health and physical treatment for children should be something you take slowly, shouldn't it?
It is already taking very, very long time. The average wait for a first appointment for a trans person is 5 years. In some parts of the countries, it's 10 or 12 years for the first appointment. So no one is rushed into this process.
Well, no, that's absolutely not true, because Peter, that's not true, because children were being seen.
Time to speak.
Yes, I know, because that is what you're saying isn't true.
Let me answer your question. The holistic approach is good, but I fear it's going to further delay a proper assessment and a decision whether it is appropriate to proceed to hormone treatment and others.
When is it ever appropriate for a child to get hormone treatment?
Let me also answer your other question. You are against puberty blockers for young kids. Well, the NHS...
I'm against untried, untested medical treatment of children. Yes, I absolutely stand firm on that.
Puberty blockers are tried and tested.
And they're found to be damaging to children.
And they're widely used on the NHS for non-trans children with precocious puberty. That is, young kids who have early stage...
Needing medical treatment.
Who have early stage puberty. They are prescribed puberty blockers and have been for many years with safety and efficacy.
Children needing medical treatment. There's no such thing as a trans child. Do you genuinely believe there are children born in the wrong body?
I believe there are children who believe that they are not the
But they're not born in the wrong body, so they don't need to be treated for something that isn't actually real, do they?
Well, they do if they are genuinely trans, which they are in 99% of cases.
What's that stat from? Sorry?
Sorry?
What's that? 99% of cases they're genuinely trans. Where's that stat from? What does it mean?
Well, we know from the evidence that puberty blockers have been prescribed with great benefit to thousands. No,
we don't. No, that's not what any of the studies say.
Stop interrupting me. Don't be so rude, please.
No, well, stop saying things that aren't true, Peter.
I let you speak.
Oh, that's very good of you. Stop. When I say something untrue, feel free to jump in.
Okay, well, I'm trying to. There have been hundreds of thousands of young people who've gone through trans treatments successfully and happily in dozens of countries around the world.
There's no follow-up research at all. You can't make that statement. You have nothing to back that statement up for. There is no follow-up at all in most sex clinics, clinics treating kids for this.
The clinics do follow-ups. They monitor...
Did you read the Cass review? Did you actually read it?
Yes, I did.
And yet you're still making those statements?
Yes, and Cass did not say that young people should be denied puberty blockers and hormone treatments. They said they should only be applied with caution, and that is correct. Because
the evidence for them was actually that they were not good for children. But okay, I just want to clarify that you believe that 99% of children who are genuinely trans, I mean, no child is born in the wrong body, it's an impossibility, but an awful lot of children seem to think that they are.
I would not use that phrase and have not used that phrase.
Okay.
So do not impose it upon.
Children who think that they are, the huge proportion of them are either turn out to be gay or autistic. That's a very strong argument for not giving this sort of absolutely, no turning back treatment to any child, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And that's why the process is currently, and has for many years, been very slow and arduous. No one is rushed, goes to a clinic and gets treatment the next day or the next month. It's years and years.
No, that's simply not true. That's simply not true. We know people that has happened to. Honestly, some people may be waiting a long time. A lot of people don't. Is there even a scintilla of a possibility that either the Yvette Cooper, the now Home Secretary, former shadow, been involved in politics from word go for years, that the Home Secretary, the Prime Minister, who by the way, was actually the Director of Public Prosecutions.
I know.
Is there any possibility at all that either of those people weren't fully aware of all of this information if they'd been paying the tiniest bit of attention?
There is not one single doubt in my mind that they know full well and knew exactly what was going on. When I worked in Rochdale, Keir Starmer was the Director of Public Prosecutions. He is the man at the top of the CPS who authorised the man who got a 13-year-old child pregnant, where we had a fetus, where we had DNA. He authorised that man to be charged with conspiracy to commit sexual activity.
Well, we know he had sex with her, and if it's 13-year-old, it's statutory rape.
Well, it's under the law. It actually technically isn't if you're over 12, but no, up to 12 there is no argument. My understanding is that now we are going to be looking at making it statutory rape, possibly
Automatically
up
under
to
16,
16. But you're never going to get more evidence than we had on that case. He was Director of Public Prosecution.
It wasn't a he said, she said.
Nope, he was there.
So you talked about this going all the way up. So it's not just even all the way up just to chief constables. We also know there's an issue with local council leaders and local councillors. There have been cases where some of the people who've been implicated in these actual grooming gang rape crimes, who you know, working for the local council. Or we've got some MPs now who are council leaders who are possibly involved with cover-ups as well. No doubt they'll be, I hope they are, certainly called before any public inquiry that comes forward. How high up do you believe this goes? And what were their motivations to cover up?
I think that the motivations are they didn't want to rock the multicultural boat, and these children don't matter. And they're probably
So it was kind of white working class girls don't matter.
Yes.
But also we need to this idea about community cohesion. Look, you worked in these areas as a police officer.
Yeah.
Were local Muslims, local Pakistani women, men, community leaders, were they not equally horrified? I don't believe for a moment they would not be equally horrified by these awful crimes.
Well,
or was that an issue that actually that was part of the cover-up?
I'm going to say something now that probably will be a little bit controversial. When I was in Greater Manchester Police, any cases like this were being assessed by what were called IAGs, independent advisory groups. And people in those groups were members of the Muslim community, and they were advising the police forces which cases to prosecute and which not.
Why?
Because they didn't want to cause racial, they didn't want to disturb racial cohesion. But right from day one, I have always said any child abuser is equal. The law is equal, and we charge them with rape. But with this particular kind of crime, they have not done that because I don't believe they wanted to uncover that hot potato. But
and the idea, Louise Casey mentions in the report, she says, you know, this concern that this would give ammunition to racists. It's like, she says, look, the racists are going to be racist anyway. This is something, you know, the point.
I mean, I've said in my book, even Julia, that by pushing this conversation underground, they actually have allowed the far-right racists to hijack the conversation when it should be about child protection. It should not be about, you know, oh, well, we can't do that. And the actual truth is, as we see unprecedented numbers of immigration and immigrants coming in who do not share our values, it's going to get worse. Just one more thing, sorry. The other thing is that in the foundation, the Maggie Oliver Foundation, and in my work, there are women within that community who are treated as second-class citizens. I think we have a duty to fight their corner.
100%.
You know, women's rights, if they're living in the UK, they shouldn't be hiding behind a front door.
But, and everything then becomes, well, it's a, you know, it's a religious or a cultural difference. But there shouldn't,
I don't accept that.
That shouldn't be, if you want to live here, that's not the deal.
And some of those women come to the foundation because they have nowhere within that community to go. So once you start to grasp the nettle, you do so much good for other women.
But for those who are tied into the whole, you know, no borders, you know, multiculturalism thing, they can't deal with this. They have to put their blinkers on, because once they see it, they can't unsee it, and then that's why they shout racist and far right at anyone who uncovers this. Because this is the thing that we've had these claims again and again. You know, the vast majority of people who commit sexual abuse of children in this country are white. Well, of course they are. It's a white majority country, but in the particular towns and cities where it's been exposed, and there's only a handful of them compared to the 50 we believe it's happening in, is the predominance in this particular modus operandi of grooming and rape gangs, and the sort of the selling and the sharing of these girls around like they were pieces of meat, is quite clearly, and it's not Asian, it's Muslim Pakistani men, largely from ethnic origin and from a particular part of Pakistan where they have, in my view, medieval views about women and about children. And we've imported that. And we know we've had mass immigration from that part of the world since this was first exposed. Many people in this field are saying it's not only that the problem has not been resolved and it's not a historical issue, it's happening now, but that it may be worse now than it was 15 years ago. 2.3. By the end of the show, I'm guessing it's going to be 2.5 million people signing a petition to oppose digital ID cards. we just spoke to Ross Clark about it, and talking about, you know, these aren't going to stop the small boat migrants getting a job. This is just abject nonsense. It's embarrassing. But there are just so many more concerns about these cards that make them different from having a passport, having a credit card, having an NHS app to renew your prescriptions. Why is it different? And why are the people like me who are worried about it not, you know, we're not conspiracy theorists?
For the first time in our lifetimes, there is going to be somewhere, not entirely sure where, but probably provided by some private company that's paid for the research that's led to this, a database in which a file is kept on you. And the Julia Hartley-Brewer file will say what she was doing in 2005 and whether or not perhaps she wore a mask during COVID. And they may even go into your old file from when, during the pandemic, the government spy agency kept tabs on what you were tweeting and
sent into a counter-terrorism unit in the United States. Nothing to see here, people. Nothing to see here.
And put it all into that one little repository, and then they're going to use that data to make decisions about, for example, whether or not you get a council house, or whether or not you get seen by a GP today, or whether or not you're a good person or a bad person.
No, hold on a minute. I can imagine people listening here going, that's a load of nonsense. Why? And there's no one's talking about doing that. Well, that's a conspiracy theory.
The infrastructure that they are building takes us from something. We already have a national insurance number that identifies you as a British person. We already have passports.
Able to work, yeah.
We already have driving licenses. This is something different. What is the difference between a driving licence, a passport, a national insurance number, and this? What it is there will be one centralised computer system. And sure, maybe, day one, it will just have these little files attached to it. But do we really think that governments that love to keep tabs on people, that love data, think they can make everything, the more they know about us, the better they can keep control of us? Do we honestly think that that is where it's going to stop?
Exactly.
And that's what I worry about.
And it won't necessarily be in the case of a pandemic or a war. I mean, many people are predicting, you know, I mean, anyone paying attention knows that one or both of those are going to happen again, probably in my lifetime, probably much sooner. I mean, and that's the thing. Think about it. It's like when you get a passport or that's a moment in time, and it's proof. You know, I think it's absolutely right. I should be able to prove who I am and what my nationality is going in and out of the country, or prove I've passed a test to drive. This is something that could be used. A, it's live, it's constant, it's updated constantly. B, it's got all your information in one place, which is supposed to be the selling point. But actually, having had my bag stolen a year ago, I can see why that would be a particular issue. You know, if someone had access to your phone and could see all this stuff. But also the hacking risk, just from the nefarious actors. Given that you know the banks and Marks and Sparks can't protect their own data, the MOD can't protect their own data, I'm not entirely sure I'm going to trust them to protect mine. But so you've got that side of things. But the control aspect is the bit that most terrifies me. We've seen what's happened in China. It's very, very, very clear. And most people think, if you tell people about this, they think you're talking about some silly science fiction, dystopian Hollywood film. It is the case in China that you are constantly monitored and tracked. You get a score. You have your social credit score. If you do something, either committing a crime, okay, you might want to, great, it will deter people from committing crime. But some of the crimes, you know, remember, write a tweet or say something critical, or maybe complain to your school because they brought another cross-dresser in and said it's about trans rights, yeah? Oh, we'll all be on that list, guys. So you lose your social credit for that. And at some point when you lose enough social credit, you can't buy things. You're not allowed to get a train ticket or buy a plane ticket. You're not allowed to attend a concert. You're not allowed to... why would they not include... for a disease which barely had any impact on people under the age of 70... They were excluding kids from school, youngsters from university, most of us from our jobs. You think, and they were going to try to stop us from going to watch a football match or going to the pub. You seriously think they wouldn't do that again?
It's fair to believe that
Prince Andrew lied to his family as much as he's lied to us. There are royal protection officers that said that they lost count of the women that came through Buckingham Palace or wherever Prince Andrew was bringing them.
Randy Andy was when we all thought it was innocent.
Right, because he didn't want their names listed anywhere. Ghislaine Maxwell entered and exited as she pleased without anybody taking her name down. So I do think that there was, I think he lied to them as much as he's lied to us.
And there is an issue, isn't there? I mean, it's obvious there's no real love lost between the king and his younger brother, who was the favourite of his mother. But there does seem to be an issue that the Queen, to a certain extent, either just... I'd like lots of mums, you just want to believe what you want to believe.
Right, and I feel guilty saying this, but I put the blame on the Queen's team for not cutting him off at the knees. Why leave it for Charles to have to deal with it?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's only erupted. It's only gotten worse. And when it comes to Prince Andrew specifically, he's a liability. He needs to be out of sight, out of mind. Let's pretend he didn't do what he's accused of doing sexually. It's still guilt by association. Jeffrey Epstein is a foul character, and you are who you associate with.
This is the thing, you know, we do need to stress Prince Andrew's never actually been accused of a crime, certainly not in this country. There have been some attempts to question him in America. We're talking about his security team being questioned, some saying, well, I only give evidence in an American, to Congress, or some being questioned. They know where they were. Their records will be kept up where they were at this time or that time. What do you make of Prince Andrew's living arrangements? He's stayed in royal... I know that face was wonderful. You missed that if you're listening on radio. He's been having this... He's having a 30-room mansion in Royal Lodge. I mean, when they say lodge, it's a mansion. Mm-hmm. And now talking about he and Fergie, for some reason, being entitled to 2 houses. Why is Fergie still on the payroll?
Yeah, well, I think that Fergie's still on the payroll because she is the one that can hurt the royal family the most. I think she knows where the bodies are buried. Remember, she used to scheme with Princess Diana about how they could take down the family back in the 90s.
Good point.
And I just,
let's keep her on side.
Right, yeah. And I think that that's literally what it's about, fear out of what she could reveal. Also, I question her moral compass. It's not just what she could reveal, but I wonder if she would just say outrageous. Remember when she told us that the Queen was haunting the corgis that she's taken in? I mean, this is a woman that does not necessarily speak the truth all of the time. Yeah. And
we know we know she and Andrew are both proven liars over their relationships and when they cut it off with Jeffrey Epstein. And we've got these pictures of Harvey Weinstein, again, another convicted rapist, sex offender. Whether he was known to be at the time or not, who knows? And again, that was a more recent story. But again, staying at Prince Andrew's home. I mean, I always say, he and Fergie, they've never met a dodgy billionaire they don't like. They've never met a dodgy sex offender they don't like.
Mm-hmm. And you are the company you keep. I can't stress that enough. So when we see Andrew and Fergie with Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and some of these, creeps, then we see Prince Andrew standing next to Prince William, who's going to be the king one day at the Duchess of Kent's funeral. And you are feeling bad vibes about seeing those 2 men next to each other. Yeah.
And it's quite obvious that Prince William's feeling those. Yeah. How much damage is this doing to the monarchy? There was a recent poll by Republic who wanted an elected head of state saying, they actually support for the monarchy. And I think we all expected it would go down after the Queen. Lots of people have a lot of loyalty to the late Queen. That it's gone down below 50%. But how has it affected the monarchy and the perception of the monarchy in places like America?
I mean, I think that Harry and Meghan have actually benefited the monarchy in America. We feel sympathy towards Catherine and the King, who are dealing with cancer, and then there's Meghan, who's never met a flashbulb she doesn't like, chasing the fame game aggressively.
Have you bought her jam?
No, I'd rather die in a fire, Julia. Okay, but
she has not bought her jam.
No, but I think that you were talking about the King needing to answer some questions. This is one of the rare times where I think never complain, never explain is really biting them in the butt. With Harry and Meghan, it actually inevitably benefited them because Harry and Meghan kept tossing grenades. They didn't say anything, and Harry and Meghan looked unhinged. Yeah. But here, it looks like they are protecting a potential predator.
But a key thing there, when they did give out a statement, when the late Queen gave out a statement about when Meghan's accusations about racism and the line "recollections may vary" were so beautifully controlled and timed, that really damaged Harry and Meghan, didn't it? I mean, it is interesting, that Harry and Meghan are not the problem anymore. It's Prince Andrew. How does he just go? I mean, he has to literally disappear, doesn't he?
He does. Exile. Go away. You play your video. Play what is it? Call of Duty. We heard that he likes the video game. He likes. Play golf. Collect your own balls this time, guy. And find a new way of living.
Nigel Farage's policy was you would reapply, and then you would have to show that you weren't a drain on the economy here, and you were contributing. Why would that be, in your words,
but
weird and
you're
cruel?
a second-class citizen, even though you...
You're not a citizen. You're a foreigner living in another country.
You're not a citizen. No, that was a poor choice of words on my part.
So
you're second-class.
Yes, you don't have the same rights.
You're not allowed to be part of the place where you live. Now, I don't know about you, but being part
you're
of
not
my
part of it, though, because you're a foreigner.
Same as my neighbours.
No, if I go and live in France, I'm not French. I'm British. I'm a foreigner. I can integrate, I can make a contribution, but I'm not French.
However British you are, you might feel part of that village. You want to contribute, you want to build community. And that's what we're taking.
Nothing would stop you doing.
Wants to take away from people is the ability to build community, to feel part of something.
No, there's nothing in that policy that says that. There's nothing in the policy that says that. On the contrary, it requires and encourages people to do the exact thing you say that they want to do anyway.
It takes something away from people that they feel that they've already earned, that they have got through that contribution
for 5 years, so now I can
if you want to do it going forward, then you're removing the security that allows us to build community, and that security is absolutely at the heart of how people can build their communities and take part in their everyday lives, in their neighbourhoods.
I'm just not quite sure what community people have to offer the local community if they come to this country, barely speak the language, give up work after 5 years and are relying on benefits. I'm not quite sure what contribution.
I can tell you that the neighbours I have are absolutely contributing.
Well, okay.
They're a great community.
So if they
reapplied, WhatsApp group, it's fabulous.
So if they reapplied to leave to stay, they would be able to stay. So what's the problem?
Well, because why are they having to reapply?
Because they're not
got
British.
It. What a whole load of... If Nigel Farage wants to cut bureaucratic waste, why is he making people do everything twice?
Because after 5 years, someone might no longer be working and contributing.
Yeah, and why? So why are you having? If you've already got settled leave to remain, you have proved that you've reached the conditions for it. Why are we making people jump through that hoop all over again?
Because the conditions that have been given to people to leave to remain.
You've already got it.
They've been very minimal.
I thought Nigel Farage wanted less government waste.
They've been very, very minimal. Well, because if someone after 5 years is able to not work, claim benefits, be entitled to pensions and all of that, then actually that's an awful lot of extra cost to British taxpayers who may well love having a chat with that person over the garden fence, but may not want to pay taxes.
There's an awful lot of extra cost to British taxpayers of having to go after everybody who's already proved their worth.
They haven't proved their worth.
And are living in this country.
Well, listen,
But they've got settled leave to remain. They've got their settled leave to remain.
That doesn't mean they've proved their worth to this country. That doesn't. The bar to get settled leave to remain is you've been here 5 years. It's not a high bar, Emma. It's not a high bar. Listen,
well, I think there is more to it than that, and we both know that.
Not much.
Ultimately,
not much.